7 handicap, looking to reduce a recent fade that has crept into the swing by losing that club face angle a bit at strike. So good awareness and good comments in the notes as stating the path is still inside to out, but the face will just hang open relative to that path, causing the bleed to the right. Now, looking at the swing a couple times, it looks more like a wrist angle issue than anything else, but the other interesting comment you made was about making sure that you are clearing your lower body. Now, the common misconception is that the more you can turn through, the more you can turn the ball over or go from right to left, when it's exactly the opposite case, which more rotation of the lower body will leave the club lagging behind you more, thus keeping that face angle in its position, which for most people is likely open. Now, the root here is not that you're trying to reduce the lag. I definitely don't want to see you begin flipping or releasing that club any earlier. You do get the forearms to cross over after strike, but it might be a little late. So the solution here is to come at this with a fixed or flatter left wrist at the top, so that when you rotate your lower body aggressively on the way through and you maintain this lag angle of your wrist, you're actually going to be holding a flatter wrist and a more square face, so there need not be any release. But I digress on that point. You're probably generally aware of that, but the wrist angles are better viewed from the down the line. Now, I know the camera is not great here, but we can see a couple good clips of where that face is. And in the takeaway, it's definitely to the inside, but that face angle is okay. Your posture and back could be a little taller and straighter from that setup, but just talking about your path and face in this video, the face was okay. Here the shaft starts getting a little to the vertical side, because your right wrist is retaining a cup and forcing your left wrist into more of a cupped and open position. So the higher you go with those hands and club shaft at the top, you're either going to keep it over the top, but your move is to shallow that club by rolling the forearms open in the downswing. Now, it's not a massively open face, but what you saw as that angle of the face coming back is now slightly different than the angle of that face coming down. And that's only because of that shallowing move up at the top, which has a cupped and open wrist position, trying to flatten the wrist on the way down. But this effect, that's the shallowing, that's what's going to roll it open, because you can't just shallow the club without compromising one thing on the way through. So the solution, which I think you're aware of now, needs to be, get that out of the way, keeping a very flat left wrist angle up at the top and having the club stop in a more shallow position at the top, so you don't have to lay it down rolling it open. If your shaft is in this position at this point and your wrist angle is square, you're likely to come back down on the path, and as you know, with a square face, you really don't have to do much flipping or releasing, as we've said before. But good videos, good comments. If you're down to a 7 with a push being your only miss, I don't know how much further I can go in one video other than having some fun with this app here, which should give us a little bit more detail about what you're doing with the swing. So let's switch over control and get going here. So from the setup, and this is the face on, we can really go from any angle we would like to see. Above is actually one of my favorites, but we'll start with the face on again like we just did. The turns, so the left side, chest turn, pelvis turn, we'll ignore hand lift for now, but on the right side are the sways, chest and pelvis sway. So the right side sways are measuring lateral motion left and right, which is this motion as I'm trying to drag the screen, but the avatar is going. It's the blue and yellow vertical lines. As we play this swing through, you can see as your body moves back, the numbers will change negative as you are slightly swaying off the ball, as we saw with your initial face on video. But continuing up, the next movement or measurement we'd like to see at the top is what kind of turns you're generating. So let's get you exactly at the top of that backswing position here. And 84-degree turn of the shoulder with a 32-degree hip turn. So a nice X factor separation between those two, and your hips from the right side have not swayed off once they've completed the top of the backswing, essentially meaning you've swayed off the ball, started to sway back towards target, at the top you end up being pretty much back where you started within an inch or so. But one of the flaws which can lead to some low point or contact issues is how much you drive the upper body and lower body through strike. I don't mind the lower body or pelvic sway forward, but when the chest sways too far forward, you can end up smothering the ball or coming across it. But given your angles at this point of impact, the pelvis or hips being turned more open than the chest and shoulders is that good sign of being able to keep your upper body turns closed and have more of that in to out draw bias path. So nice action from the face on. Let's jump over to down the line. And the hand lift, the bottom number we have not talked about yet, is just a cool trace of your hand path, which as the club comes back, let me try to reset smoothly. As the club comes back, watch your hands in this trace of the yellow line up vertically past your hand. So that's your backswing path. As you come down, we'd ideally like to see that either drop right alongside the yellow or to the inside. And that's not bad for your path, as you've said you're in to out, and with that hand path it does look like you are in to out through and through. The follow through might be also a little in as well, trying to start that ball a little bit more out to the right with your path just by going more into out and not really changing the face could also help your draw. But enough with that. I think it's a good showing, and here's just a clip of you together with the avatar to see that it is indeed measuring from your swing. So back over to the face on, because I do like the sync video mode right there. So pretty cool. Again, this is the Sportsbox 3D golf app. To get this included with your golf swing, sign up for a elite analysis at sendaswing.com.